playoff race is heating up in the NFL, and the Washington Commanders are right in the thick of it. Crucial NFC East matchup today. Can the Commanders beat the Giants and jump them in the standings? We'll find out. And this season has been one to remember for Maryland football. We know they're going bowling, but we'll tell you which bowl game they'll be playing in. And LeBron James and the Lakers in town. The Wizards trying to pick up a win in this cross-country matchup and get back up to 500. See if they did. All that and more coming up right now on Game Night.
The only 7-day-a-week sports show in the DMV. From DC News Now, this is Game Night.
Welcome into Game Night. I'm your host tonight, Alex Flum, alongside the one and only Jake Rom. Great to be here tonight with you, Jake. And such a strange day in the NFL.
Very strange.
Crazy stuff happening, especially in New Jersey, where the Commanders are playing. And they've really catapulted themselves into this playoff picture. And Sunday, with a chance to pick up a huge win on the road against the New York Giants, Ron Rivera and company entering with 6 wins in their last 7 games. The Giants, they've actually lost 4 of their last 5, so maybe a chance to pick up the win here. First quarter, Taylor Heineke throws to Terry McLaurin. Check this out. Shakes off that guy like it's nothing, makes his way into the end zone. Commanders looking good. They've got an early 10-0 lead. Fast forward through the third quarter. This one all tied up at 13 now. Giants looking to take the lead, and they do. Daniel Jones hooks up with Isaiah Hodgins. So the Commanders now down 20-13 after that 10-0 lead, and score stayed that way into the fourth quarter. Less than 3 minutes to go. Fourth down. Got to get this to stay alive. The magic of Taylor Heineke. This guy always finds a way.
He does.
It's Curtis Samuel. Keeps the Commanders alive less than a minute later in Giants territory. Heineke to Jahan Dotson, the rookie. Not denied there, in for another score. This game tied up at 20, so we go to overtime. And OT went down all the way to the last second. Former Washington kicker Graham Gano trying to give the Giants the win. 58 yards out, just short, and nobody knows how to react to this, but 20-20 is the final score. And it's a weird day for the Commanders, but they'll take it over a loss. But let's just say, Jake, the team is not thrilled.
Kind of disappointment in some respects. We had some opportunities. From my perspective, we had some chances that we missed on some things. That's pretty much it.
I understand how 5.5 hours of football can lead in a tie. Hopefully it's something that moving forward the league looks at. I just don't think an NFL game should be able to end in a tie. But it's weird. I don't really know how to feel because I don't know how this game affects us. So, we'll see.
Everybody kind of disappointed, we weren't expecting a tie. It's the first time I ever, had a tie game. So it's kind of like a mellow vibe, we don't feel like we won the game today. So good thing we got them coming up again. We got another opportunity to play them. Hopefully, we can have a better outcome on that game.
This, I was sitting there like, how do you even feel about a tie? It's definitely better than a loss, but it's like, if I wanted to see a tie, I would have watched some random English Premier League game, right? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, Jake. I want to know what you think.
I don't think a lot of people are. I'm not, because you think at the college ranks, they're playing until they win. Whether they change the rules now, you do the 2-point conversions after the first overtime or 2. I just don't understand the fact of having an overtime where it ends in a tie, especially in the NFL. This is a league where, it's dictated on wins and losses. It comes down to wins and losses sometimes, maybe even tiebreakers depending on who you won in those in the regular season. So for that to happen, for it to end in a tie, and it throws a huge wrench into this because now the Commanders, they're not in the playoffs right now. They're actually looking on the outside looking in, and they didn't even lose on Sunday. So I don't know what to think. The tie's not a good thing in my opinion.
I think even at the end of the game, you saw it with the players. If you see here, it's like they didn't even know how to react to this. It's like this game ends and everybody's just
looking for a second on the clock.
So what are we doing now? Who's getting interviewed by the broadcast after this game? Nobody knew what to do. And here's the interesting thing about this is these two teams, the Giants and the Commanders, looking with the Seahawks, it's basically those three fighting for those last 2 playoff spots. And there's a good chance one of these 3 teams is going to miss it. And the Giants and Commanders, they play again in exactly 2 weeks. And I think the winner of that game, it's not going to guarantee it, but that puts you basically in the driver's seat, control your own destiny to get it, and that's going to be a huge game.
Yeah, I think the Commanders fans and the players and everyone that wants to see this team go into the playoffs and have a good season, they're going to look at the rest of their schedule and they're going to look back at this game and just go, man, we really need to win that one because they play the Giants again, then they play the 49ers. Cleveland has Deshaun Watson back. They could be good by then, and then they end with the Cowboys. So it's not easy the rest of the way for these guys heading into this back, quarter of the rest of the season.
I would go as far to say that this game in 2 weeks, because the Commanders go into the bye week now, I think this game against the Giants in 2 weeks is a must-win for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that they prepared for the Giants this whole last week. They're going to prepare for the Giants the next week. So you're basically going to have 3 weeks to just prepare to play the Giants. I think there's no excuse for Ron Rivera and this team as well as they're playing, and Chase Young hopefully going to be back for that game. I think they got to win it. But
definitely.
A lot of it is going to have to do with what happens next week when the Giants play Philly, and Philly in action today, too.
Yeah, Philly definitely in action. We're going to take a look at those highlights. They're flying high, these Eagles, hosting the Titans. A.J. Brown used to be in Tennessee. Now he's tearing things up in Philly. Early second quarter, getting in the end zone here. Eagles on top 14-7. Later in this game, here we are, second half. Jalen Hurts going to that favorite target once again. A.J. Brown picking up his second score of the game. The Eagles, big win in this one, 35-10 over the Titans.
And the Cowboys also in action right now, pulling away against the Colts here on Sunday Night Football. They're up 34-19 in the fourth quarter at last check. And checking on the NFC standings right now, the Eagles sitting pretty at the top, 11-1. Cowboys will likely improve to 9-3 very soon. And then the Commanders, 7-5-1, not too shabby, but last place, just about, however you want to say, half game, tie game, whatever.
I don't know what you call it.
Less than a third of a game, whatever, but just behind the Giants.
Definitely. We're going to head to Baltimore now. The Ravens taking on the Denver Broncos. They're looking to get back in the win column after blowing that lead last week and losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But disaster striking here at the end of the first. Lamar Jackson dropping back, getting sacked on the play here. Looks pretty routine. However, Jackson would leave the game with a knee injury. As you see here on the replay, didn't look bad, but Jackson's out. Meaning, Tyler Huntley, here he is, fourth quarter, providing the only touchdown of this game. Ravens, 1 point lead at this point. Now, could they just hold on to the lead? That's been the problem this year. Broncos, 16 seconds left. Russell Wilson, here he goes, using his legs, picking up the first down and more. Cross midfield. And that's going to set up Brandon McManus. Remember, they're not in Denver, so he's going to really need a leg on this one. 63 yards. Here it goes. Looks good, but it's short. Ravens pull out the win in Lamar Jackson's absence, 10-9. Here's head coach John Harbaugh after the game with more on Jackson's injury.
It's a knee, but it's not a season-ending type of knee. We'll get more tests tomorrow and let you know how long it's going to be. We'll see. Hopefully I'll have something for you tomorrow afternoon, certainly by Wednesday. Be more definitive, but it's going to be a number, days to weeks. We'll see. We'll see if we can go back this week. If not, it'll be sometime after that shortly.
I think all Baltimore fans are hoping that it is just days and not weeks, because you think back to last season. They were this exact record, 8-4. They were controlling their own destiny. Lamar Jackson goes out, doesn't play the rest of the regular season. They go 0-5, miss the playoffs. It's scary to say, but it could possibly happen again right here if Lamar Jackson isn't back in time.
There's no other way to put it. He's a key piece for them. Mm-hmm. I think last season was a preview of what this could be without Lamar around. And remember, his contract situation, we don't know what's going to happen. Yes, he's got an injury situation possibly, and being a running quarterback, always a higher chance he could get hurt. But they need to lock him up long term, and they're going to really have to fight for their playoff lives, because this is a very, very competitive AFC wild card race. And even with them and the Bengals, it's no shoo-in of who's going to win that AFC North. The Steelers, we've talked about this.
Yeah,
they're
they got an
11-2.
easy schedule.
They could turn things around pretty easily with one of the best coaches
big time.
in the NFL too. Coming up on game night, we'll talk college football. The Terps are going bowling, but where are they headed? And what does that have to do with condiments? We'll tell you what it is right after this. All All right, so we already knew the Maryland football team was going bowling, but we now officially know where they're headed later this month. The Terps will play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Duke's Mayonnaise, that is, and there's your answer to the question before, in Charlotte, North Carolina on December 30th against an old familiar ACC foe, the NC State Wolfpack, ranked number 25 in the nation. Maryland will have a chance to cap off an impressive 7-5 regular season with a bowl win. And head coach Mike Locksley says he expects quarterback Taulia Tagovailoa, who's dealt with injuries, to be available for this game. This is the first time since 2014 that the Terps will play in back-to-back bowl games. And get this, if they win it, it will be their first back-to-back bowl wins since 2003. And head coach Mike Locksley says he's excited for his team to play in this game.
We're just really thankful that we've earned the opportunity to play in another great bowl game in back-to-back years, playing two of our top teams close, but that's, like I said, that's not what we're about. I think if anything, it shows the trajectory of what we can be and what we're working towards becoming. So looking forward to getting down to Charlotte and continuing to build this thing.
All right, so again, Maryland facing NC State in the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, North Carolina on December 30th. The game will be at noon at Bank of America Stadium. And Mike Locksley, he's got something in for him if they win. The winner of this bowl game, the head coach, gets a giant bucket of mayonnaise dumped on them. He said today that he's willing to do it if they win. So I think he's pretty excited for that, Jake.
That'd be pretty exciting. It'd be exciting to see Taulia back in a bowl game. You think last year in that Pinstripe Bowl, man, they had a crazy game. I think who'd they blow out?
Virginia Tech. I believe it was 54-10.
I mean,
heck of a win.
Just a dominant performance, and for them to go back this year, they started hot. It seemed like it was kind of a trend like last year, but they were able to get that bowl, secure that bowl thing a little bit earlier in the season. Hopefully, we can get another performance like last year, and this team trending in the right direction. That's what you were saying. Mike Locksley said in that Zoom call was just, this team really wanting to trend that direction, try to get up there with the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn State. They're still a while out, but I really think in a short period of time that they could possibly make it up there, and with that college football playoff expanding to 12, possibly making a playoff eventually down the road.
And that's what you want to do. You want to be in a bowl game every year. That's how you build your program.
Yeah.
And with the playoff expanding to 12 eventually in the next few years, you just keep chipping away, and eventually maybe you sneak in there. So I think Mike Locksley's got this program heading in the right direction, and they're going to have plenty of mayonnaise to go around pretty soon.
That's a little too much for me. My thing is, would you rather that or like ketchup or mustard? Like, would mayonnaise be like the best one out of that?
Stick to Gatorade, I think, is the way to go for the coach celebration.
Well, we talked a little bit. I mentioned a little bit there about the college, football playoff expanding to 12, but it's still 4, and that was released today. Here are the 4 teams that made it. Ohio State made it at 4. Georgia, number 1, obviously a lock. They're playing each other in the Peach Bowl, and they're Horned Frogs, TCU. They lost in that Big 12 championship to Kansas State, but still being rewarded. 12-1 on the season. They're taking on a Big Ten foe that we're familiar with, or at least Maryland's familiar with, the Michigan Wolverines, 13-0 on the season. Now, you think of those 4 teams, and in my opinion, the committee, I think they got it right. I think they got this one right. I know you're kind of a Bama fan here.
Yeah, I root for Alabama, so I was hoping to see them get in, but I do think the committee got it right. This is a good way to go. And by the way, we're just talking about Maryland. Maryland went toe-to-toe with Michigan and Ohio State, nearly beat both of them. Yeah. And those are 2 college football playoff teams. So just going back to our last discussion, that looks good for them. But, I think this is good. But listen, we were just saying, I cannot wait for a 12-team playoff.
Of course.
It's long overdue. I think we should have had it for a very long time.
Definitely.
Because, it'll be good this year, but realistically, Georgia looking pretty good, right?
Georgia looking like they're going to go back-to-back. Them and Michigan undefeated. They were locks coming in. TCU losing to Kansas State. A lot of people were like, if they lose, Alabama's going to move in. USC lost. They're out, of course. But in my opinion, it came down to this. TCU, they beat Kansas State early on in the season. They lost this game only in overtime, and they got stuffed at the goal line on 4th down. So they went for a touchdown. They went for it all late in that, in overtime. You look at Alabama. 2 losses. Yeah, they were close losses, both on the last play of the game, but their most impressive win, Texas. I think they're 24th ranked or somewhere down there at the bottom of the 20s. With their backup quarterback, they won on a game-winning field goal. So in my opinion, when you're looking at it strength of schedule-wise, of course, TCU had the better resume.
Well, we'll see what happens when we get into it. It'll be a day after the Duke's Mayo Bowl, right? Back to some Maryland sports. Women's basketball in College Park. Number 20 Maryland hosting Nebraska, coming off a big win over Notre Dame. Cheyenne Sellers gets the hoop and the harm there here in the first quarter. Tight game to start. Team high 21 for Sellers. To the second half now, Diamond Miller from downtown drills it. Terps in front. Miller with 13 in this game. Of course, she hit the big shot against Notre Dame to win it. But the Cornhuskers, they stormed back and dominated the rest of the second half. And this is really just a stunning result. Maryland falls at home to Nebraska 90-67, dropping to 7-3 this season.
Can't get a read on them this year. You really can't. But we're going to go to some men's basketball here. GW men taking on Radford. Here it is. GW men taking on Radford. James Bishop getting us started here. 3 of his game-high 26 points. Colonials, though, still down here in the first. Bishop kicking it to E.J. Clark. And yes, sir, that's in. 5-point game. They're still down. They're still fighting back. A few minutes later, Noel Brown on the pick and roll banks it in. His third double-digit point game of his young career. However, GW falling to Radford in this one, 86-76.
All right, we got more hoops for you coming up on game night. LeBron James and Russell Westbrook in town as the Wizards looking to get back to 500 and pick up a win over the Lakers.
Welcome back into game night. To the NBA we go. The Washington Wizards looking to get back to 500 tonight. They're taking on the LA Lakers at home. LeBron James in the house. Lakers up big in the second half. Wizards down in the first half, though. We're going to go. Kyle Kuzma, alley-oop. Daniel Gafford. Oh, my goodness. Bringing down the house. Lakers up in the half here, but it's Kuzma fade away, getting the lucky bounce. He had 26 on the night. How about this play in the fourth? LeBron James to Anthony Davis. This is bringing the house down. Wizards suffering another loss to the record. 130-119 is the final. Anthony Davis, 55 points, 17 rebounds. And for the Wizards, Bradley Beal, leaving this game early with a hamstring injury, did not return. He finished with just 2 points. Here's head coach Wes Unseld Jr. after the game.
We knew going in the combinations of pick and rolls between him and LeBron, Westbrook, and it was strength of that team. And we didn't handle it very well. Tried to make some adjustments and didn't do that very well either.
All right, so throughout the high school football season, Jake and I, every week we make our high school football rankings, and this is our top 5 preview for this week's rankings, our second to last of the season. Good Counsel drops to number 5 as a result of Quince Orchard winning a championship, and Freedom continuing to score what seems like 300 points every week. Freedom moves up to 4, Quince Orchard to 3. DeMatha at number 2, and St. John's, the WCAC champions, who rallied late in the season to get it done. They sit at the top of our board at number 1. I don't think anybody's going to pass them.
No, definitely not. I think there's not many movements left. We'll have to see what happens there 6 through 10 because there's some shakeups.
Yeah, we've got some switching around.
Fairfax losing to Madison.
So you got to check on DCNewsNow.com to see our updated rankings later this week.
Definitely. It's going to be a good one.
Coming up on game night, we've got some trivia tonight. It's a bit of a surprise for Jake, but I will tell him now. It has to do with SpongeBob.
Oh, nice.
We'll be right back. Are you ready, Jake?
I'm ready.
You guys say, aye, Captain. All right, we got some SpongeBob trivia tonight. SpongeBob or Patrick? I'm going to give you a quote. You got to tell me which one. So let's start off first. The most important meal of the day, serving it up Gary's way. It's
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. That's the easiest one. All right, next up. Told you how to do with mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise and intro.
Is mayonnaise and intro? Okay.
That's Bangies.
2 for 2. There it is, the finest eating establishment ever established for eating.
It's got to be SpongeBob.
Correct.
Let's talk about
Next up. Once there was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died. The end.
Patrick.
Man, you're acing this. You don't need a license to drive a
SpongeBob
sandwich.
is from the movie.
Correct.
The original movie, the good one.
Did you ever notice how big squirrels' teeth are?
I'm going to go SpongeBob.
Correct. It's a close one. Are you Squidward now?
Patrick.
Yep.
That just sounds like something you would say.
Dumb people are always so blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
SpongeBob.
No, that's
Really?
actually Patrick.
it just seems like a lot of words.
Ow, I burned my hand at night.
SpongeBob.
Yes. That's not disturbing. This is disturbing.
Yeah, that's what he goes. It's Patrick.
Sandy's a girl.
Oh, Patrick.
You are killing this. Good people don't rip other people's arms off.
It's got to be SpongeBob because his arms can come back.
I think you've only missed one, right?
Yeah.
Can we say that plants from Texas are dumb?
It's got to be Patrick.
Yeah, so you only
was a
missed
tough
one.
one.
I did.
I'm big
I
on
tried to
SpongeBob,
answer
like,
them before, like without knowing, and I did not do that well. So Jake knows a lot about SpongeBob.
You can kind of hear it. You can kind of hear it when you
but
say
I didn't do
it.
the voice.
You weren't doing the voice.
I was trying not to make it
You
harder.
did the voices.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here tonight on Game Night. As always, we'll leave you with the calls of the night.
Washington offense. And now Heineke over the middle. It's Dotson. Dotson spins. Whoa! To the end zone. Touchdown.
Again, look who's guarding him. It's the backup, Zion Gilbert. A little stop and go. This is a first-round pick, so you're talking about ability on ability, and Taylor Heineke recognized it in a heartbeat. I honestly believe Taylor Heineke said, wherever 38 is, I'm throwing to that wide receiver.
Ends in a 20-20 tie.
And they'll do it all over again in 2 weeks. How do you like that, Kenny?
Coaches and players don't know how to field.
So you should. Primary focus is elbows and boxes tonight. Protect the rim.
Oh, great lob to Kuzma to Gaffer.
Don't protect that rim. Daniel Gaffer snatching the screws out of it.
Here's James. Lob to Davis.
Yeah, well, you see that action right there with Patrick Beverly kind of being in the mix. But I mean, you throw it up to Anthony Davis.